This is a zone valve wiring diagram. A thermostat, a transformer, the zone valve itself, and the boiler all tied together on one drawing. So this is how to wire zone valves. The little motorized valve that decide which room in your house gets hot water and when. If you have a hydronic heating system with more than one zone, this exact diagram is what makes it work. Stick with me and you will understand every wire. The motor, the all-important end switch, the 24-volt supply, and how a whole rack of zones ties back to one boiler. Let us rewind and build it from nothing. First, what is a zone valve, really? It is a valve with a small motor bolted on top. Your boiler heats water. A circulator pump pushes that hot water out through loops of pipe. One loop per zone, per area of the house. A zone valve sits at the start of each loop, and its job is simple. Open to let hot water into that zone, or stay shut to keep it out. The motor, the actuator, is what opens it. Send it 24 volts, and it slowly drives the valve open. Cut the power, and a spring or the motor drives it closed again. That is the whole moving part. One motor, one valve, one zone. But here is the part that trips everyone up, and the reason zone valve wiring even exists. The end switch. Inside the valve, alongside the motor, is a tiny set of dry contacts. They're called the end switch, and they do exactly one thing. They stay open while the valve is moving, and they snap closed only when the valve is fully open. Why does that matter? Because those contacts are what tell the boiler and the pump to fire. You never want to pump hot water at a closed valve. That is deadheading, and it is wasted energy at best. So the boiler waits. The valve drives open, the end switch confirms it is open, and only then does the boiler light and the pump run. The end switch is the valve saying, out loud, I am open, go ahead. Quick note before we wire it. Every diagram in this video is drawn in a free editor that runs right in your browser, CircuitDiagramMaker.app. No install, no sign up. The link is below, so open it in a second tab and follow along. Now, let us meet the whole cast, because a zone valve never works alone. 1. The transformer. It steps your line voltage down to a safe 24 volts, and that low voltage runs the whole control side. 2 hot terminals come off it, call them R and C. 2. The thermostat. 1 per zone on the wall. It is just a switch that closes when the room calls for heat. 3. The zone valve, with its motor and its end switch, which you already know. And 4. The boiler and its circulator pump, waiting for permission to run. Transformer, thermostat, valve, boiler. For parts, and a handful of wires between them. Open a zone valve, and you will usually find 3 wires, sometimes 2, and knowing which is the whole game. On a classic 3-wire valve, 2 of the wires power the motor. Feed 24 volts across that pair, and the valve drives open. The 3rd wire, together with a common, is one side of the end switch, that dry contact pair we talked about, completely separate from the motor. 2 power the motor. 2 are the end switch. On some valves, the motor and switch share a common, so you count 3 wires instead of 4, but it is the same idea. A 2-wire valve is the stripped-down version. Power only, no end switch. Simpler to wire, but the boiler has no way to know the valve is actually open, so it fires on a timer or on the thermostat alone. For real control, you want the end switch. So let us run the whole sequence, one step at a time, because once you see the order, the wiring draws itself. Step 1. The room gets cold, and the thermostat closes. That sends 24 volts down to the zone valve motor. Step 2. The motor drives the valve open. This takes a few seconds. It is not instant. Step 3. The valve is fully open, and the end switch snaps closed. Step 4. That closed end switch completes the boiler circuit. The boiler lights, the circulator pump starts, and hot water finally flows into the open zone. And when the room is warm, the thermostat opens, the motor loses power, the valve closes, the end switch opens, and the boiler and pump shut down. Call open, confirm heat. Every zone, every time. Now the payoff, because almost nobody has just one zone. Here is how you wire several. Each zone is its own little chain, its own thermostat, driving its own zone valve. The upstairs thermostat opens the upstairs valve. The downstairs thermostat opens the downstairs valve. They are completely independent. The clever part is the in switches. You wire every zone's in switch in parallel, and that parallel bundle goes to the boiler's 2 control terminals. So if any one valve opens, its in switch closes and the boiler fires. If 3 zones call at once, 3 valves open, 3 in switches close, still 1 boiler running for all of them. That is exactly what a zone valve relay or zone controller does inside one tidy box. It gives every zone its own terminals and wires all those in switches together for you. One last thing that will save you a blown transformer. Zone valves come in 2 voltages. Most residential valves are 24 volt, powered from that little transformer, safe and low energy. But some valves are line voltage, 120 or 240 volts, driven straight from a relay. Never mix them up. Feed line voltage into a 24-volt valve, and you will cook it instantly. Always check the label on the actuator before you land a single wire, and switch the power off while you work. So that is how to wire zone valves. A transformer makes 24 volts. A thermostat calls. The motor drives the valve open. The in switch confirms it, and only then does the boiler fire and the pump push heat into that zone. Wire every in switch in parallel, and 1 boiler serves the whole house. The best way to lock this in is to draw it yourself. Open the free editor, drop in a transformer, a thermostat, a valve, and a boiler, and wire that in switch loop with your own hands. It will click in a way no video can match. The link is below. Subscribe for a new wiring diagram explained every week, and I will see you in the next one.